All right, welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. Now, last week, Just for Laughs announced they were seeking creditor protection and they would be canceling this year's edition of the festival. The organization says they still intend to continue operations. They will be scaled back and done in a smaller format as they work on restructuring. Just for Laughs hopes to run the festival again in 2025. La Presse reports that the company lost $5 million last year, owes $42 million to creditors, including $15 million to founder Gilbert Rozon. Ashkan Karbasfrooshan joins us now. He's the founder of WatchMojo, one of YouTube's biggest, most important channels that's based right here in Montreal. And back in 2018, he tried to buy Just for Laughs when it was up for sale. Ash, welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Take me back to 2018 and tell me about how you were in the running to purchase Just for Laughs and how that played out.
Sure. So Howie Mandel, who had performed at the festival, I guess he was intrigued after Gilbert Rozon was caught up in the Me Too saga. And to their credit, ICM, who is an agency in LA and represents Mandel, they saw more than just a festival. They wanted to convert Just for Laughs into, a media company. And they came in with a very aggressive bid of $50 million. But then ultimately it cost $65 million, and that difference could have very well been the Rozon payout. And you could argue that they overpaid or not, but ultimately an asset is worth what somebody's going to pay for it. And once they realized, to their credit, that they still needed the festival to be owned 51% by a Canadian entity to secure the tax credits, then they did what any self-respecting agent would do, which is they started to shop around, and they spoke to us, and they spoke to, Evenco, they spoke to Quebecor. This is all quite public. I'm not saying anything shocking. And ultimately, they realized, well, they still need to run a festival. And Evenco, which is part of Groupe CH, the Montreal Canadiens, parent, they run the Jazz Festival. And so they decided to go instead, and I didn't blame them. 3 days before the deal was announced, I was in ITM's office, and they were like, yeah, you're part of the deal. And I was like, great, we could help play our part. But then, there was no room for us because once Evenco came in, they brought in their partners at Bell Media. And that was it. Evenco and Bell Media owned the 51%. And we were the odd man out, which is fine. It happens, nothing personal. And then you could argue two things. One is that's a lot of cheats, too many cooks in the kitchen, perhaps. But also, if those three organizations could not make it work, then who could? Now, of course, there's reasons why they're now in this position, and happy to talk about that.
Yeah, so let's get into that, right? And by the way, for our listeners, most of them know, but Bell Media also owns this station, CJAD, right? Just to get everything on the record here. So it does seem like a perfect match here. If you've got one of the top talent agencies in the world, you've got an event company like Evenco that does tons of festivals and concerts and shows, and then you've got Bell Media, which is such a big player in media. It does seem like a perfect mix, even if you're not involved. It seems like a perfect mix. So why do you think it failed?
And again, these are not sour grapes. I would have probably done the same thing. And again, I didn't ask to come here. You asked me when I posted something, but just trying to be objective and, provide value to a lot of your listeners, and Just for Laughs is an institution here. So, look, I think culture and communication, and we all have insecurities, we all have ego, pride, and all that. You're talking about ICM, now part of CAA, which is the biggest agency in the world. They obviously have a clear view, and they think they're the smartest guys in the room, as anybody in LA and anybody in New York and these big hubs do. So they probably had a vision for it. And then in Montreal, the Montreal Canadiens are like the Vatican, and Jeff Olson is the Pope, and I'm not blaming him at all. So I think when Evenco came into the picture, they're like, well, we're in the driver's seat because we ultimately are going to be running the festival, and we want to put our people in place, and that makes a lot of sense. I'm not questioning it. I'm just kind of saying that water is wet here. And then you have Bell Media that, again, people can bash Bell Media and you can bash BC, and I think there's fair criticisms, but Bell Media is a powerhouse and they're a broadcaster and they underwrite things, plus you got tax credit. But I think some of it was, again, you have to be really intellectually dishonest to say that maybe there were too many chiefs, not enough Indians, or maybe a divergent visions of who does what. But I think there's more to it than that. Ultimately, the killer of companies is not even a lack of vision, it's usually debt. So my guess is because they thought they would be buying this firm for $50 million, but it ended up costing $65 million, they felt that, well, for us to get our investment, recoup our investment and, create value, well, we need to expand to Toronto. We need to expand to LA. We need to be in Australia. We need to be in Africa and wherever else. And they probably used a bit of debt. Well, not probably. They evidently used a ton of debt. I think $16 million owing to National Bank and BDC and then Gilbert Rozon. And I think they just kind of raised a ton of debt to execute that vision. But facing the pandemic, which is both a very convenient cop-out, but it's also a valid excuse for a couple of years, the festival didn't have the same revenues. But I also think that's a bit of a cop-out because the one field where people are crushing it is live entertainment and travel and experiences where people would pay. So I think the other reason is that the comedy business has changed. I knew what my lane was. I saw what the risks were. Social media has changed all of media. If you look at what's happening in humor, it's changed quite a bit. Comedians are sometimes going direct, not just Taylor Swift, the musician who recorded her shows, sold it to AMC, and then eventually put it on Disney+. Shane Gillis recently filmed things himself, kept the rights, and then sold it to Netflix. So inherently, Just for Laughs is not, it's a great brand. Is it still as pertinent as it was years ago? Maybe not. Anecdotally, they were always like, Ash, can you help us with the gags? I was like, look, the gags are a franchise. I don't doubt it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, nowadays, kids on YouTube are watching insane pranks. This does not have the same pull. So ultimately, I think Just for Laughs is like the analogy I use. It's a box. It's a soapbox. It's great to discover new talent, even established talent like it. But it's not like Just for Laughs has the right to the IP, to the intellectual property. Comedians retain those rights. And nowadays, Netflix and these streaming platforms have changed the dynamics where comedians rather sell their art to these platforms directly. So Just for Laughs is not what I think they thought it was. And I'm not insulting their intelligence. I think they knew what the challenges were, or I'm hoping that they did. But it just, external factors like the pandemic, internal factors like that, and really just a very different comedy business caught them off guard. And I think this is an administrative move for them to restructure the debt and maybe get new investors, maybe a new buyer. It'll be interesting. And I understand why a lot of people are a bit upset because these are three people that technically were like the dream team.
So, Ash, listen, I got to ask you this as well. We're with Ashkan Karbasfrooshan, founder of WatchMojo, talking about Just for Laughs and their latest difficulties. WatchMojo, your company, over 25 million subscribers just on your main channel, right, on YouTube. I just looked up Just for Laughs, right? And I get your points about them not necessarily owning the content, but they're at 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. And I just wonder if there was something missed out there because the internet is where people go to get comedy now and they can go direct to audiences, but you're still Just for Laughs where you can act as a curator of content. Were there missed opportunities on that front?
There were a lot of missed opportunities, and I think, the plan we had was a plan that ICM liked it quite a bit. It was a plan that even Evenco liked quite a bit, and even Bell Media, they all came to us afterwards saying, could you help, and this and that. But again, I think these are all still small compared to the crux of that business. So I'm not here to second guess them. I'm rooting for them, and I hope that, this continues, but I think they just need to understand that it's a radically different landscape. It's not about the past. It's about positioning themselves going forward. But look, what is stopping somebody from just starting a new thing without the baggage, without the debt? Yeah, there's going to be obvious, you know what I mean? It's kind of buyer beware. I think it's an intriguing asset. And full disclaimer, I mean, as a serviceable entrepreneur, I'm going to take a look because we were put on a list of companies that, should take a look. But it's buyer beware, and you have to be a big masochist to take on this beast of a challenge. But I mean, I'm hoping for them the same way that Cirque du Soleil had a lot of challenges around the pandemic. They were able to come back, and they're doing well. And I hope for Just for Laughs and for Cirque du Soleil that these iconic Montreal media and entertainment brands and exports continue, and hopefully this is just a bump in the road, and we'll see what happens.
Quickly on this one, Ash, but are you saying here at the right price you'd be interested at another kick at them?
I am a mere mortal. I don't have a big head about these things, even though somebody part of that trio said even if Ash and WatchMojo are minority investors, they're going to walk around town saying they own it, which was a cheap shot, but it was actually rather funny. Look, if those three could not pull it off, I don't think any single party should think that they could just walk in, even at the right price, and make it work. It's a very challenging landscape. But again, look, WatchMojo is a Montreal success story. It would be, I would be doing a disservice to my stakeholders, which include the community and everybody here in the creative community, not to take a look. But I don't have a savior complex, and I don't think any one single person or party is like has a Midas touch kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a lot for Just for Laughs to just regain its once lofty stature. But look, never say never, but unlikely is the way I would answer.
Ash, fascinating conversation. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Ashkan Karbasfrooshan is founder of WatchMojo.